stayed in the NFL here because it's going down the north. We talked about the NFC and how wide open the NFC is. I think we could say the same thing about the NFC North because Aaron Rodgers departed. He's out of here. Well, so we think. The Jets and the Packers right now are negotiating the contract, and so far we haven't heard much traction on the contract. So maybe he's gone, and maybe he's not, or maybe he's retired. I don't want to break it to Zay like that. He a Jets fan. Zay will lose his mind on the show. The way how he wore that Jets jersey on the last show with Dujane and talking all the good stuff out of the woodworks about Aaron Rodgers that I never heard from him before. I'm pretty sure he didn't want to hear that. But with that being said, pending the trade, and Aaron Rodgers is out of the division, the North, which team in the NFC North is poised to be the division North Kings for the foreseeable future? And say once again, the mic is yours.
I mean, you got to go with the team that has that showcased the most talent, that has the most assets to use and to build their team. That's the Detroit Lions. I think Lil said it best last year before the season started. The Lions, he's buying stock in them. There's going to be a point in time where the turn happens, and the Lions' talent mixed in with their coaching staff is gonna just take over the division by storm. I think we've seen a glimpse of that happening last year, and I think this year they're gonna go full on stampede to take that division. I think the Detroit Lions, they have an opportunity to really make a splash in that draft. They got the 6 and 18 pick. Rather they decide to trade it or keep them, there's going to be a big move where they add assets and draft and players to this team. I think draft even better. That means you're bringing in young guys on our Detroit Lions team that's going to be there for the foreseeable future, rather as receivers, running backs, whatever it is. They're going to have pure talent there. And then also, that offense is high flying with the defense is where the real questions are. And they added a bunch of guys to their defense. Most importantly, Gardner Johnson, most recently on I believe, an $8 million 1-year deal. If the Lions are going to make any kind of push, this is the year where you could really see them making that exact push of just going all the way. And I mean, all the way to the final game, essentially the Super Bowl. I think they can make a very interesting push like the Cincinnati Bengals did a few years back, and just go all the way and really stifle teams. I think the Detroit Lions, they have a lot of talent that people overlook. I think when you talk about St. Brown and you're talking about Jameson Williams, you're talking about just adding David Montgomery, Swift, there's just so much talent over there. Even that front line is young and bolstered. So I think for me, when I look around at NFC North, the Bears have the opportunity to really shock people, especially with the additions to that defense. But I believe that the Lions have built a building of just confidence, grit, and building towards a great last year for them into a year where they make something of it and have these expectations of playoff or bust. I think, building that winning culture with Dan Campbell was important to him. And I think it's important for that team to push that mentality forward and win no matter what it takes. And I think it will take them far.
I'm not going to lie, Zay. I lost a lot of sleep last night thinking about this topic. I did. I remember it wasn't too long ago. It was before all y'all bandwagons came along. I went on the air and I talked about the Lions. And I said, you know what? I'm watching you. I'm watching you. I see you. Okay? I see what you're building. And I love it. And in the next 3 to 5 years, you are going to be on top of the North. I said that a year ago. This was before all these media cats tuned in to In the Huddle before we went to 99 Pod and jocked my take and ran along with that. And everybody's a Lions fan now. You're too late. I was the one that said it. Okay? However, a year prior to me saying that, or maybe it was around the same time, I actually think I said that before, the Bears GM, Ryan Poles, said, you know what? We are going to take the North and not look back. So Lil has his prediction about the Lions taking the North. And Ryan Poles have his prediction of the Bears taking the North. somebody got to be right. Somebody got to be the Lil Shadamas. Well, I'm sorry to break it to you. Upon thinking about this last night, like I said, I lost a lot of sleep thinking about this. I don't really know if I could definitively say that either team is just going to dominate the way how Green Bay did in the era of Aaron Rodgers. I can see a scenario where the Lions win a division this year. I can see a scenario where the Bears win a division this year. I think they're going to share some of the love. I really do. And I respect both teams and what they're doing. I'm a fan of both teams and what they're doing. And to be frank with you, before I actually get into who I think has the best chance to kind of like take over the most, I'll get to that in a few minutes. But I would like to say this, because the way how this question is worded is disrespectful to the North. With all due respect, even if Aaron Rodgers stayed, I do believe his time in the North was done. You look at last year, Rodgers, he split the season series with the Vikings, 1-1. He was 0-2 against the Lions, and obviously he still owned the Bears. But the Bears are on a different type of timing right now. So I don't even think Aaron Rodgers would have controlled this division for long. The Vikings won a division last year. I think they all caught up to him. But now that he's out, somebody got to take it. And you know what? This is where I got to make the Godfather decision here. I'm going to say the Bears have the brightest future, if you ask me today. And the reason why, Lil, what are you doing? You jumping ship now? No, I'm not. I like the Lions. Like I said, I love what they're building. And I would love to be wrong. I actually think they have something too. They very well can win a division this year. But the Bears have something worth value to me and more valuable than any other thing that these two teams possesses. And that's a quarterback, a franchise quarterback, not a bridge quarterback, a franchise quarterback. And that to me is the most valuable thing you can have in the NFL. And I understand Jared Goff, phenomenal last year, did not turn the ball over. Okay? You can go to the playoffs with him as your quarterback. I get it. Hell, he went through a Super Bowl, right? But he doesn't have the upside that I believe Justin Fields possesses. The Bears, who knows? Justin Fields may be a bust. We don't know. I don't know. They haven't gave him anything last year for me to really have an accurate hypothesis on if he is or not. But what I do know, based on the Bears' actions, they are treating him. Hell, they had the number 1 pick. They are treating him like he's a franchise guy. If they didn't believe he wasn't, they had the number 1 overall pick. They're going after Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, one of those guys. But they are treating him as a franchise guy. So they believe he's a franchise guy. Jared Goff is still a bridge quarterback, whether we like it or not. Now, you can say he's a good bridge quarterback, but he's still a bridge quarterback. And because they have the quarterback, I'm going to go then. And one more thing before I pass the rock to you for your rebuttal. Both of these teams are having a stellar free agency. The Lions are patching up the defense. Obviously that was the biggest culprit for why they did not make the playoffs. And they added C.J. Gardner-Johnson. That's a good piece to bolster up the secondary. They added a couple more pieces. Sutton, that cat over there, a couple other guys. And they had to draft the number 6 and number 18 overall to kind of continue to patch up that side of the ball. But when I look at the Bears, my gosh, they won free agency. They won it flat out. Let's talk about their moves real quickly. They, first of all, start off with DJ Moore. Top 15 wide receiver in the league. They got him. And because they made that move, they don't really need to add more to the weaponry, as far as wide receivers, because he's that impactful. And like I said, number 2s could be number 2s and number 3s could stay number 3s. Tremaine Edmonds, they got him $2 million per year less than Walker Smith. So they got a bargain with him, and he's younger. They also got Deontay Foreman. Okay. And first of all, TJ Edwards is another guy they got. He had, I believe, 159 tackles last season. They got him for the cheap off the clearance rack. Deontay Foreman, they paid him $3 million. The Lions paid $18 million for David Montgomery. Or even certain David Montgomery is better than Deontay Foreman, because I'm not. Deontay Foreman had 900 yards in 11 games last year. He has the acceleration that David Montgomery doesn't have. And when you compare him and pair him with Khalil Herbert, a guy in Khalil Herbert who, you get him in the outside zone, that's a defender's worst nightmare. Deontay Foreman is a nice back to complement him. And if they add Austin Eckler to this backfield, my God, you're probably talking about one of the best running back, units that I can remember. If you add, oh my gosh, and they have the money to. That's the thing. They have the capital to continue adding. They still got the most cap space in the league. Imagine if they added Austin Eckler, where Justin Fields can make a living off the check down. And you got to account for his legs on the ground and Austin Eckler. My God. So as much as I went on the air 2 years ago, it said the Lions, y'all going to run the North. The Bears had other plans. And I have to acknowledge those plans. I'll come back for my second lap.
Yeah, I don't think Austin Eckler is going to Chicago. I don't think Chicago would even pay for Austin Eckler because the Chargers are going to put a price tag, a hefty price tag on Austin Eckler. It's not that they're going to just let him go for nothing. I don't think the Bears will pay for that. They just got a mega deal for that number one pick. We're getting DJ Moore and a bevy of other picks. I doubt they'll be paying those other picks for an Austin Eckler. Especially in that field is horrible. I'm sorry. And even if Austin Eckler was to go there, I doubt he will sign on and stay in Chicago. Chicago's a tough place to play in. That's a very tough stadium to play in. There's a reason why a lot of free agents don't go there. There's a reason why a lot of guys don't voluntarily go there, and a lot of guys wind up leaving because that field is a very sorry field. As I reiterate Tillman's comments years ago, very sorry field. Their own guys don't want to play there, but that's just the nature of it. I say this, I think the Chicago Bears got talent around there, with Claypool, Moore, Mooney. They got talent over there. They need to build that front line a little bit more. I know they added some pieces to that front line. They need more. That front line was completely sorry for years. You could say for the better part of a decade it's been a very sorry front line. Even when Mitch Trubisky was over there, that front line was terrible. I think, it needs more building to really protect Justin Fields so he could become a presence in a pocket. Because in college, he was a presence in a pocket as well as using his legs to move around, be mobile. But his bread and butter, if you really watch most of his highlight plays, was in that pocket. He was able to throw down the field and allow the receivers to make them double moves, allow him to get to the middle of the field. And I think right now he's unable to do that in this particular roster. So I think they have opportunities to build it though, and they have the capital and the cap space to do it. But my question is for you, I guess, would you go after a big name running back like an Eckler or someone else in that nature, or do you put that money, that cap space, and the draft capital that you have towards offensive linemen to protect what you have currently? Because you can make the argument right now, as currently constructed, they can make some noise in the North with those receiving options and Deontay Foreman. But do you want to just give up more for a running back opposed to building that front line to really help Justin Fields throw the football and get that passing game going?
Well, I think for me, they have the draft to kind of focus in on the offensive line issues, right? When you talk about the Bears, they are in a great spot. When you have cap space and draft capital, you can literally order a new team off Amazon. Okay, literally a remodeled team, and patch your holes and add on to your strengths. And I think right now, even though they lost David Montgomery, but they got Deontay Foreman, their strength is still rushing the football. So, Lil, why would you add Austin Eckler? Well, mainly because of what he can do from a pass catching perspective. If your line is not as great, once again, you still have to draft to accommodate that. When you have a guy like Eckler, he is a quarterback's best friend, and he gives you the flexibility to have those little screen routes and pitches where he can continue to control the clock, almost like you're running the football, but you're actually passing the football. It's just an extension of the running game. So I do believe he's that impactful to a quarterback's development. And right now, when I look at the Bears, they are doing everything to put Justin Fields in the best situation to be successful. And I'm going to get into that more in a few minutes. I would like to say this, though. My thought could change because it's so close to me. If the Lions, and I always said it, the Lions need to make a Godfather decision and draft the quarterback of the future and sit him under a year with Jared Goff, his final season under contract, allow him to sit behind him. If they do that, then now coming back on the show, and I honestly don't know who. I could go Lions on that one. But because they have a bridge guy, and it comes down to that for me, because we know that there's an expiration date with guys like Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, Derek Carr. There's an upside cap. Whereas Justin Fields, I don't believe there's a cap on his upside. Now, with guys like that, there's a potential bust in that, but there's potential, this guy may be a Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes S type player. And I'm going to tell you this, Zay. Remember, I'm famous on the mic for saying that I look at actions a lot. I really do. I look at things from a magnifying glass. I really try to stay away from the face value and try to look under, beneath, and over, and beyond, and in through, right? And when I look at the Bears, I'm noticing something. I'm noticing a trend, and it caught my attention, and that's why they're the team I'm picking right now, because I figure that they are trying to remodel this upcoming season to remodel the Ravens 2019 season. What's special about that year? Lamar Jackson won MVP that year. The reason why I know they're trying to do that, and I'm going to get into it right now specifically. When you talk about last year, they were struggling at one point, right? And Justin Fields, he was not really a good quarterback from the pocket. They had him in the pocket too much. But what they did, especially in that New England game, was they jocked. They literally copied, the Ravens blueprint to enhance Justin Fields' development, which is use the quarterback in RPOs as a runner where he's most effective. They copied that. I saw it. And they started to win games that way. And Justin Fields was having these 100-yard rushing outings, and they copied that. They was like, listen, I'm going to flat out in plain sight copy the Ravens blueprint, and they were winning that way. At least they were having more success. I don't know about winning in a column, but their offense looked better. And now you talk about this. They signed Robert Tonyan. They have 2 tight end sets. Remember in 2019, the Ravens had 2 tight ends, Mark Andrews and the other cat, I forgot who it was. They had 2 tight ends that year. Okay, they have speedy wide receivers, similar to what the Ravens had that year. They have 2 running backs, similar to what the Ravens had that year. I think I mentioned that already. Maybe I didn't. So they are copying the blueprint from the Ravens in that 2019 year. And that's why I think they could really, really scare some teams in their defense, because of all the speed that they're trying to build. And I'm noticing that. And I have a feeling that if they copy right, and sometimes you can copy something, but it don't work out for you that way. We all know that. But if they can copy that and be successful with that, then not only are they NFC North contenders, but Justin Fields could be an MVP favorite. And I know that's a hot take, but if they pull it off, I can see that. And that's why I'm going with them.
It's interesting, because I think, you made a great point. But I actually, like, when I talk about the Lions, when I think about what the Lions are, it goes back to just watching that Hard Knocks clips. Shout out to Hard Knocks really picking the Lions to do that. It was just magical. I just saw I fell in love with the players, how gritty they are, the characters they were, on camera. It was a beautiful sight to watch. I want to say all that to say the Lions have a chance to really build upon that, with top talent at 6 and 18. You don't know who they're going to pick. You don't know if they go risk. They go, all right, we're going to select Anthony Richardson at 6 because we're going to build him to be the next quarterback for this team. Or they go, I'm going top offensive lineman, or I'm going top edge rusher. I mean, personally, I would love for the Lions to get another edge rusher alongside Aiden Hutchinson, because now the edge is going to be ridiculous. Aiden Hutchinson amongst another guy on the edge, like just dominating the defense, is getting pressure. That's what really makes the DBs an insurmountable amount of pressure from the defensive line, pushing offensive linemen through. I think that's something that they could really build upon. That was something they lacked last year, was getting pressure to the quarterback. And I think they're going to overly emphasize that, as they already have so far in this offseason. I think for me, the Bears have a lot to do. They're doing the work. They had a lot to work to do prior to those signings. Adding all those guys they just added, plus making that trade, it created less of a distance they need to go, but it's still a distance they have left to go. nonetheless. And I think, like you stated, if they could somehow, some way mimic that blueprint of the Ravens 2019 into this season,
Yo,
there's a possibility. There's you can never go wrong with the RPO is literally the cheat code of the NFL.
no, it is. Jalen Hurts is using it, and not only do you have the Ravens blueprint to copy, you have the Eagles blueprint to copy. Because Jalen Hurts, his sophomore year, his numbers were suspect. Justin Fields' sophomore year, numbers were suspect. They was around the same in a lot of the same categories. And they made a couple moves. They got aggressive. They got one wide receiver, AJ Brown. They drafted the other guy, Devontae Smith, who's underrated, but they got one wide receiver, sort of like how the Bears got one wide receiver, and that changed everything. And now they almost won the Super Bowl. They should have. Now, if you're the Bears, one of these RPOs is successful. Guys don't have an answer for it yet. And that's why I'm saying to myself, right now, they got a franchise guy, allegedly, obviously, with upside. Whereas the Lions, because I need to see them go after that guy, I still don't know how the chemistry with Jameson Williams and Jared Goff is going to be, because he's a speedy guy that gets behind the defender. He goes deep. Jared Goff missed him on some throws last year because he didn't have the arm strength to make those throws. How's that chemistry going to work? Is Ben Davidson going to come up with a plan to get Jameson Williams the ball in the intermediate route? Amon St. Brown, that's what he cooks up. So it's going to be a very interesting dynamic. So I like both teams. I'm not picking a division winner by any means of this year. I'm going to say that. I don't even know, to be honest with you, even if I had to do it today. But I think right now, based on the way how this question is worded, who has a chance to be the face of the North, I think it's a collaborative thing with the Lions and the Bears. I don't really think there's going to be a team like the Packers who's going to win it every single year. We still got to give the Vikings respect. They won it last year. They got Justin Jefferson. Kirk Cousins is spotty, but they got the best wide receiver in the league. They can very well win this division next year. Jordan Love is still a mystery quarterback. We don't even know nothing about this guy. He's been in the league for 3 years. About to be 3 years. We don't know. There's a reason why the Packers want to move on from Aaron Rodgers. We'll find out why soon. So the NFC North, I think right now, and I'm going to end here with my take, is that I really do think that they had the best offseason. Well, the Lions and the Bears had the best offseason. Obviously, the Packers subtracted. Vikings was quiet, but it's up for grabs, and I'm going to leave it at that.
I agree.